Hello everybody. Welcome to the channel if you are new, and welcome back if you are already a subscriber. Today's video is going to be all about week 5 12 by 12 spreads. So this will also round out all of the week 5 videos, and if you'd like to see the pocket pages, you can head on over to the channel. Those are already uploaded. I typically try to do my 12 by 12s at the very end, as they are more like standalone moments. Obviously this case is no different. So we're going to have 2 spreads. This is going to be the first, and I really want to go ahead and preface, I am so sorry, but there's going to be a part where there's like a big cut jump situation, and I'm so sorry about that. Thankfully it was more towards the end, and you really didn't miss much, just some like moving of some stickers. If you guys have hung out for a while, then you will know I am quite OCD about placement, so sometimes it takes me a little bit longer than I would like to sprinkle bits and stickers and kind of create my little clusters. So I'm really sorry about that. I had no idea, obviously, that it wasn't filming until I went to stop the video to go look for something. And then I was like, why is it not stopping? And then I like pulled it out of the holder and realized that it had just like stopped for whatever reason. So I do apologize about that. But as you can see, I am working with some scraps that I had to create this like layered textured look. So I absolutely adore that blue scrap that I picked up first. I think that's absolutely one of my favorites. And then that one did come from Paige Evans. The next one I used came from 1-2 Canoe. I want to say it's called Flourish or something like that. I don't remember the page titles for everything, so please do forgive me on that. But I can tell you that the big anchor page, that really pretty Paige Evans floral, in case you cannot see that tiny little mice print, this is Bungalow Lane that it's all going to get mounted on. So I wanted to create this nice little cluster of layered papers, and at one point I really thought I was going to stop with just this pink. But then I end up using a black and white gingham, like almost watercolor-esque, like it's not a clean gingham print, but I really loved it. And I really kind of wanted to leave that pink grid space as a really great place to put journaling. You're going to notice on both of these spreads that there's no journaling of any kind. And I had gone through all of my 12 by 12s in my albums to kind of get a little bit of inspiration and kind of verify, like, how have I done journaling in the past? And I've done it all a bunch of different ways. So let me know what you prefer in the comments in your own personal 12 by 12s, how you deal with that. I've had stages where I've done it by hand, and I really like that. I've had stages where I really want to make sure I don't mess it up, so I'll type it and then print it and either put it on vellum, or I'll do like little word strips. And to be completely honest, I feel like I like the clean of the typed journaling, but one thing I was noticing was some of the journaling, quote unquote, was really maybe a quote or something like that if I didn't have like journaling to add. And some of the photos that come to mind, or some of the spreads that come to mind, are ones that I've done of like Jeff's grandfather and like family photos of that sort, because I don't always have a story or a memory that I would like to attach to that. Like that's separate of the journaling I have in Project Life, just to specify. So I had a good bit of journaling talking about, how excited I was to be at the balcony party, but I did want to leave room that if I retroactively go back and I'm like, you know what, I'd really like a little handwritten journaling there, or I'd like to type something out that can fit in that space, that I would be able to have it and fit it in pretty seamlessly. And you'll see kind of open space like that on both spreads that we do today. So just talking a little bit more about like what's going on screen, I finally pulled these Citrus Twist foam thickers out of my stash because honestly, I kind of forget about them. And I knew that they would work on this spread in particular, and I hope that they would stand out pretty well. You will see me move these around a time or two before it's all over. I really struggled with whether to put it on that gingham or let it stand alone. And the more the spread evolved, it needed to come up a little bit higher so that it just didn't seem to be like floating off there into nothingness. I'm going to end up doing a cluster kind of right above my head, just a smidget more to the left. I'm going to do one right next to Jeff's head, and then I'll do like a little cluster above the loving this whenever I move it up a bit. So those are where, little 3 clusters are going to happen. As far as where I'm pulling the stickers from, I really wanted these really cute, very thick cardstock stickers to work. One said better together and one said you and me. And I was like, obviously, perfect spread for that. However, no matter how many times I moved them around, they just continue to seem so out of place. Sorry if you hear Binks in the background. She's trying to get a little bit of love and affection while I do this voiceover. So if you hear some mewing and mowing, it might be because someone is trying to get attention and love. I also dove into both my stashes for Paige Evans and Willow, or 1-2 Canoe. Sorry, it was the Willow collection. But I was trying to dive into those, just kind of like softer, more natural colors. But I also really love that Paige Evans has that kind of like crafty element to her. So the button, what are they really? Because they're like foam, but they're not. And they're like enamel dots, but they're not. They're like squishy, rubbery, but not rubber pieces. I don't know how to describe them, but that heart and that button is the star that I'm putting down. They're the things like right off to the side, but those are Paige Evans, and I knew I really wanted to play with them. I loved that button look. I kind of wanted it to have like that homemakery, Paige Evans vibe, because I really, really like that. And then the sticker book that I end up pulling all of my word phrase, well, not all of them, some of my word phrase stickers from are from Pink Paisley, which I believe is also Paige Evans as well, if memory serves. I think Paige Evans does her own line, and then Pink Paisley, very similar to how like Maggie Holmes and Crate Paper work. And if all that was gibberish to you, I'm really sorry. But I end up pulling kind of my clusters from there. And then I do end up using my Dear Lizzie word phrases as well to kind of put that pop of red back in. And also, I'm going to preface, it sounds like the guy below me is starting to play his bass guitar. So if you hear that, I'm sorry as well. Apartment life for you. That's how we go. But we're going to have that little, I think that jump finally happened and I wasn't paying attention. Yeah, the jump has happened. So I'm really sorry about that again. And so you're going to see me kind of stamping all over. I really wanted to bring, I needed to ground this page a little bit more. And for me, I always feel like grounding a page happens whenever I add those little like kind of ink elements. So I use my roller stamp to do photo op up by that first cluster at the top. I then did happy place and some hearts next to the other one. I can't remember if I did this on camera or not, but I did end up adding like another heart strip and a happy as can be word phrase. I do like that I didn't use my typical gold stars. I use kind of more of like a rosier gold whenever I did it. And then of course I had to do like little dash borders around my word phrase stickers. But you're going to get a nice little slow flip here in a minute. And then I really like that I added like still shots to this video. I just hate that the still shots for this spread that I took are so dark and I don't know why. I know I've spoken in previous videos about this, but my lighting situation is super weird and not always great because I have natural light, but then I have overhead lights because I am typically actually always working from my kitchen island. So like I love how bright this particular part is, but you're going to see in a minute that the still shots look so dark, and it's so weird to me because I literally took them right after this video. So very weird. I will say that perfect afternoon sticker does come from that sticker sheet. See how dark that is? So weird. And that perfect afternoon sticker that apparently I cut off when I took that picture did come from the same sticker sheet that the Better Together and You and Me stickers came from that didn't work out. Now this video is going to be a little bit longer because no footage was lost. So that's going to take up the majority of the rest of this video, actually all of it. So before I get too in the weeds about product for this, I do just want to quickly touch base. Oh my God, I forgot about this. I really did. I went through hell mounting this photo. Like my cutter was angry, and yeah, so I had to like peel it all off, start again. I thought maybe I could still use that area, but absolutely not, because it was too close to the edge. So it was what it was, unfortunately, and I had to just move on to a different part of the page, but my cutter was like off kilter somehow, so I had to get that fixed. I also probably need to buy new blades, so that's just how that goes as well. But just talking a little bit about that first spread. So the first spread, like I said, was Jeff and I on this balcony. I've talked about this in the pocket page spreads already, but Jeff and I went to a balcony party after a second line at Mardi Gras. The second line literally takes you all the way to the balcony party. And it was for the crew of Pontchartrain, which is one of the parades that we had people riding in. Unfortunately, I did not get to see that particular parade because they were riding on the day that it was literally sheeting rain, and it was still February. And the very next day, the boys were riding in their parade, and they didn't want to be sick. Obviously I didn't want to be sick. And we really weren't sure. We knew they were going to come right in front of a hotel that a group of us were staying at, or part of our group was staying at, because Jeff and I were not there. We were at his uncle's house. But more or less, we did not end up going to the parade for this particular group. So I thought it was really cool that my experience with that crew was their balcony party and their second line. And then my experience with the other crew was a brunch, a second line, and the actual parade. So I got to see it all the way through on that end, which was kind of nice. But this was just a really great selfie we took at the balcony party with our beads that we had on, and as we were throwing beads, and it was just nice and lovely. So that was what that first spread was like. Obviously, judging by the photos that I have mounted at this point, and I had a time trying to figure out, I knew I wanted it to look kind of like a cork board that you would keep in your room, or maybe like a notebook that you would keep. Like I wanted them to look a little bit more childish. I don't know if that's the right word, but I wanted them to look more like something that you would just tack up in your room and just have like those snapshot memories on your wall. I really wanted it to have more of that touch instead of more like perfectly curated or something. And it kind of reminded me of a cork board that Jeff has in his kitchen at his house. So I really wanted to play on that. Obviously with the bright colors that are so obnoxious. Oh my God, the costumes were so obnoxiously bright. So the costumes were so bright that I knew there was only one person's collection that I could go to, and you can always count on Amy Tangerine to have these bright colors. So I pulled out all the Amy Tam stuff that I had and went through it and picked out some good anchor pieces. So what I thought was really amusing by the time we get to the end of this spread is I was very sold on the fact that stripe paper in the back was really going to be the majority of what you saw. In the end, you're only going to see like an inch of it, and I freaking love how this turns out in the end. In terms of the page layers, I think where I struggle with how this spread turns out is the title part of it, and when we get to it, you'll know why, because it takes 6,000 years, because I'm laying down a very long title and trying to get it perfectly centered. So you have that to look forward to, guys. So, after I got the photos mounted on white, and again, I struggle with the placement over and over and over again, I did end up cutting out some of those squares. I guess those are probably like 3x3 maybe. 3, 6, 9, 12. Yeah. Because they were 4 across. So they were 3 by 3. And again, I really was hoping to kind of use them like other things that you would tack on that cork board, and it just didn't end up working. It looked way too busy. It didn't leave enough negative space. And again, I really wanted to leave some space on each spread to where if I wanted to come back and journal, I could. If I wanted to come back and put some type journaling, I could. I really wanted just a little pocket. And even if I end up never coming back to add something like that, I really wanted to have a place for the eyeball to rest, because there's so many bright colors going on. So this is where I was trying to kind of do the placement. And the main ones I really wanted to use were those 3, but I really wanted to use that Heck Yeah because it had that same like deep purpley color, and it would allow like that blue stripe that you see all the way on the right to be kind of like fluidly brought through, because it was almost the same like blue purple as their costumes. And you can see in the daylight photos down at the bottom, like the photos of, obviously the masks are covering their face, so you can't see them as well in that bottom photo. But Jeff and his dad, you can definitely see in the daylight how purple those costumes were. But when they took the inside photo, they had more of that like blue touch to them. So I thought that would be really great with that blue stripe, and the Heck Yeah that it would just carry it on through. But I end up not using any of those. I'll also say that this spread was the first of the 2 that I did. Why did I do them out of order? Nobody knows. I don't know why I did them out of order at all. So this one did take a little bit longer. The first spread after a while always takes me a little bit longer. Like if I've taken a Project Life break or a 12 by 12 break. I'm trying to think when the last 12 by 12 I did was. I know I haven't done one at all for 2024. These are the first ones that we're doing, because obviously this is only week 5, and nothing had really happened at this point that warranted a whole spread to itself. So that should tell you some stuff. I think it might even be the first one that I've done literally in 2024. So, well, I finally decide on a placement, which you're going to laugh at, because I am going to change those bottom 2 photos again before it's all over, because I end up wanting to put down an embellishment that is only going to work with that photo of the 2 of them together. So I really I struggled with the larger embellishments in this spread, because typically you would only use like 1 to anchor the piece, but I really wanted to dive into my stash and use some of these brighter elements, because I don't always have the opportunity to do that. I tend to gravitate more towards like the natural colors, or, more girlier layouts that are not exactly bold, bright colors like Amy Tan provides. I tend to gravitate more towards like those Maggie Holmes and crepe paper items. So I thought I was going to use this washi tape to again give it that appearance of being like popped on a cork board. But the problem was that I couldn't get a piece of tape down that didn't like cover elements that I wanted to stay that. And also that middle photo, I didn't love that the tape was on both photos. So that concept didn't work. If I had been able to set them down a little bit farther, maybe, but I didn't want the photos to go off of the cork board either. And by the way, that is a paper that looks like cork board, not real cork board. I have used like the textured corkboardy paper before as well, and I do love that. And I did have a moment of like, do I want to go to Joann's and grab a textured paper like that? And I was like, no, we do not have time for that. We're going to work with what we have. This looks fine. Let's keep it moving, peeps. Let's keep it moving. So obviously, I have layered some papers, so I'll talk about that really quick while I flip through some sticker books, and then we will move on into more of an embellishment chat. So I did layer the corkboard paper with the notebook paper and then with the word phrase paper. Unfortunately, I don't recall all of the page numbers I can tell you, or page names, I can tell you they're all Amy Tangerine except for that cork board paper. It is from Paper Studio that is at Hobby Lobby. And then the stripe paper is named The Bright Side. It was from the Hustle and Heart collection with Amy Tan. Again, I'm trying to do like a very low spend year when it comes to my scrapbooking supplies, which is getting really hard because Halloween and Christmas collections are getting ready to drop, and I am trying to like hold myself down a little bit. So that's a struggle, but so far so good. And I'm proud of myself for digging into my stash. So one thing that you just saw me do was stamp down something from the Bold and what was it? It was called Bold and Bright or Bold and Beautiful, maybe. Bold and something from Amy Tangerine. I had a stamp set from that, and it was a calendar where you could circle the month and the day and then write in the year. So I did that, and then I pulled out a February sticker from her sticker book and then did a cute little dash border around it just to, again, like, go ahead and start that element cluster. I always feel like once I find that first like grounding point for a cluster, I'm off and running. Next, I wanted to use these bigger kind of hard cardstock layered pieces from Amy Tangerine that have been hanging out in my stash for a while. So long, in fact, that I was worried they were going to rip because the part of the cardstock and definitely the adhesive were so stuck that it wasn't coming off. So I had to actually put the permanent adhesive behind. This is the Sweet Moment layered embellishment that I wanted to use on a photo of Jeff and his dad. So unfortunately, it looks like I cut off some of that. Like, I guess I just had the spread too close to me, but I end up putting it on the photo of the two of them together and making a cluster. So I'm sorry for having that be off screen a little bit more than I intended. And then I'm trying to make this one work all over the place. And that goes on for quite some time. I do end up landing on putting it towards the top with that February sticker to kind of ground that cluster as well. Another thing about this spread that I struggled with, we're just dishing all the tea, was again, the grounding element. Like, I'll get everything done and I'm like, I don't know. It's just, it doesn't mesh yet. It's just not there. So after I finished filming, I did end up doing a doodly border, and I did end up adding some, splatter, is that the word? Splatter with black watercolor. And I'm going to give you guys a pro tip. There are a ton of sprays and stuff out there that you can buy. I know Heidi Swap had some for a while. I know Tim Holt still has his, all of that. There's even like the oxide ones. I will go ahead and tell you guys, I am not the biggest fan of them. I don't know if it is user error. I shake them. I do all the things I'm supposed to do. Maybe I'm just not letting them dry long enough. I don't freaking know. But they always just don't seem to settle into my page right, or they do weird things. So I have honestly taken a love to just using watercolor splatters because they dry very fast as long as you pigment them well, like you pick up a good amount of pigment. They hold really well and they don't fade, but that's just my choice. So that's what's worked best for me, in case you're wondering like kind of how to do splatters without buying a million watercolor or a million different sprays and testing them all out. I found that the watercolor splatters work best for me. I love these tags that I made. So they were clear stickers from the Amy Tangerine book. And I thought that it was genius to take them, mount them on the white cardstock, and then punch a hole through them so that I could run the twine through them. Because otherwise I was basically going to have to write on them with a permanent marker because of the type of sticker that they were like that clear gloss. And again, because they were clear, they were going to show through. Anything behind them was really going to show through. So if I put them in a Hobonichi or something, obviously that was kind of the only place I could put them because anything else was going to show through if I put it like on top of a spread, which I guess is not the end of the world. I think it could have been cute to also mount them on maybe a print paper. And like now looking at them, like, oh, that kind of would have been cool with the paper I put that's got all that hand lettered phrasing on there. But, I think it turned out really, really well. And then while I struggle, I will chat about what's going on in the photo. So this is where I start really trying to work on the title, which is going to be Crew of Carrollton 100. So this was the 100th ride for this crew, and very few crews have that honor. So that means that they have ridden in a parade 100 years. That's insane to think about, that this crew has been around for 100 years and been making a float and riding in a parade through the city of New Orleans for 100 years. That's mind-blowing to me. So I just thought that was such a memorable experience for the boys. And this goes back to why I was like, I really want to leave some space for journaling if I ever decide to go back and put those thoughts in there. We are already signed up for 2025. So we'll be going back to New Orleans as well. But I kind of see this as the beginning of a different tradition for us to go and do. And I'm very much looking forward to it. But Carrollton was going to be the largest phrase that I used. So I wanted to get that done. And as you can see, I'm pulling those alphabet stickers from my Maggie Holmes sticker book that I've had for forever. I've really been trying to pull from these sticker books as much as I can. So I've been keeping them very close at hand for both Hobonichi 5-year, my cousin, and for scrapbook spreads, especially in this case where I had that Amy Tangerine book out so that I could dive into that. Because again, I don't always have a reason to use those brighter elements that Amy Tan has. So talking a little bit more about the photos while I play with sprinkles and bits and painfully move those alpha letters. So basically the photos that were taken were all after we did the second line parade, and then the boys went off and got in their costumes and get on the float, and then they ride in the parade. Meanwhile, I was with Julie and we went and saw the Interview with the Vampire House that I talked about in a previous video for that pocket page. And then we waited for them to get there to give us our goodies, and then we met up with them for dinner. So these were actually all photos that I had to get from Jeff, which was shocking. And I was so excited that he sent them to me along the way. And again, I really struggled with whether I was going to journal about this, because none of these were taken by me, but also I don't want to say lack of perspective, but I really wish that I had journaling from Jeff more than anything. So I didn't know whose perspective I wanted the journaling to be from. Again, hence why there isn't any. So that top cluster, I don't know what I was going to say about that. I think I'm done moving the alphas around at this point. Okay, let me finish one thought process. I think I'm starting to worry a little bit because we're getting closer to the end of this video, I think. So that first photo obviously is a group photo that they all took. So that's Jeff, his Uncle Donnie, Jim, who was there and kind of being shown the city by us. I think I talked about this in a previous pocket page video where I was saying I didn't know that we were kind of going to be playing host until we were there, until literally the morning I was getting ready, and I got ready and Jeff was like, your top's a little sexy. Can you make a quick change? 'Cause we got business on the trip. And I was like, sure. But why did no one tell me this before we left so that I packed appropriately? And then on the end is his dad. And then you drop down to that middle photo, and it was just a selfie of Jeff with his Mardi Gras glasses and in his costume before he put his mask on. And then the last photo at the bottom is his dad and him. I don't know that that's correct grammar, with their masks on, full costume selfie, full on. And then now I can chat through the fact that I am working on clusters, adding enamel dots. As you can see, definitely, again, pulling out those Amy Tangerine elements. So I've used some of the stickers from the sticker book to do a dash border around some of those hearts. And then I'm using some of the enamel hearts that I had hanging out from, I think, the Shine Bright collection she did a million years ago. And then I just kind of dove into, I don't remember, I have several sheets of those, not several sheets. I mean, I have them in several colors, the pink, the green, and the blue enamel dots. And I don't know with any certainty what brand those are. I feel like I want to say they're Doodlebug, but I don't know that that's right. But I absolutely love the size that they are because they're teeny tiny. And then there's like, they're all little, but they're various sizes of little, which I love. And again, I really went for it with pulling in those brighter colors, doing that brighter green or a magenta or something I may not get very often. And then I did choose to use my bright gold glitter stars. Like I said before, though, I really struggled when this was over to figure out how to ground the page. And every single time I struggle with that, I know it's that I need to add black. But because black is so harsh, I really get freaked out by using it. So I'm always like, I add a little bit at a time. So that I don't go completely overboard. So I am going to add splatters. I am going to add a doodle border to the white graphic page. Is that what I want to call it? To the one that has the handwriting on it or the brush lettering style on it. And then I do end up going back and putting some hand-drawn stars in the clusters, but I think I only did like one per cluster, and that's where I've left it at for now. Again, remembering that if I want to go back and add any journaling, I need to kind of like pull back and chill on the black, because obviously my journaling will probably be in black and ground it even further. But I think this about does it. Yeah, I think this is where I was thinking about adding in the stars or something. I was like, nope, leave it alone. So now you get to see what it is all finished like. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and both the spreads and got some inspiration and a little nudge that you needed to work on some 12 by 12s. And until the next time I see you guys, enjoy creating your own little wonderlands. Bye.